Hello Match 2024 applicants, this is Malka Assad, a plastic surgery resident in the US, and in this video we'll go over some excellent personal statement samples and give you feedback about these personal statements to identify how a good personal statement looks like. And if you'd like to get free samples of ERAS application, letters of recommendation, letters of interest, and more samples of personal statement, stay till the end of this video and I'll share with you how to get these guides. We will be going over some recent samples we updated on our blog for Match 2024 applicants. And before we get started, make sure to check out our personal statement editing and residency match application packages, which I will put in the description below. And now let's get started. As I said, I'll be going over this recent blog we updated on our website, Residency Personal Statement Samples and Feedback, and you can find that by going to our website, thematchguide.com, and going to the blog, and you'll find this blog under the Match blogs. So let's go to the first sample. Sample 1, the role model, general surgery. This personal statement starts with a quote: "Medicine is not a job, it is a way of life. As the son of a cardiothoracic surgeon, my father's mantra constantly echoed in my mind." So the writer here starts with a quote of their father. Some might ask, should I always start with a quote? And the answer is no. If you have an interesting quote that is building on your story and what message you want to convey, you can do that. Otherwise, you don't have to start with a quote. I was raised in an environment where sacrifice and duty were familiar concepts from a young age. So, as we all know, everyone recommends starting with a catchy introduction, and that builds the hook for your personal statement story. And this personal statement does that to an extent by expressing the applicant interest in medicine as a result of their influence by their father. While my father did his best to balance work and family life, there were countless occasions when he had to prioritize his patients and commitments over personal events. Seeing his dedication and the impact he had on the lives of his patients, residents, and staff left an indelible impression on me. So here the applicants is not only trying to show how they are influenced by their father, but also they are willing to do a similar commitment to their profession and medicine. That's always what we say in personal statements, the show not tell. Instead of saying, I'm committed to serving my patients, I'm committed to missing on family events, on personal stuff because of my patient care, this applicant is saying that in an indirect way. And that is a perfect example of the show not tell. So talking again about the introduction, it's highly recommended you start with an interesting story about yourself that hooks the reader and encourages them to continue reading to learn more about you. But the mistake I find some people do is that they go with some crazy stories that might not make sense or might not be true or might not fit with the personal statement just to create that hook. And this is a terrible mistake. I would prefer an applicant to have an average, nicely written introduction that tells something about them rather than a crazy story just to hook the reader. Remember, this is not a novel. This is not, something that a social media post. This is a personal statement to tell about you and what picture you want to portray to residency program directors. So in summary, before we move on to the next paragraph, the introduction should tell something interesting about you. But if you don't have that extremely unique story that would raise the eyebrows of the person reading it, don't panic. It's totally fine. Most applicants don't have these stories, and write something interesting about you, of what drew you to the specialty or what makes you a unique applicant. Now, usually after you write the introduction and the introduction doesn't have to fit with the timeline of your story, generally people go with the second paragraph to start talking about how they developed interest in the specialty they're applying to. And of course, as we said, show not tell. You talk about that through experiences. Don't just write a speech to tell general surgeons why general surgery is cool. The same for internal medicine. They already know that. They want to know why your experiences led to you choosing that specialty, because that also shows maturity in your knowledge about the specialty, and this is really what you want to do. Generally, starting with the second paragraph, things start to flow in a chronological manner. So you start talking maybe about medical school, how you got interested in the specialty, or if you started developing that interest in college, you can start talking about that. One advice though, is that I don't recommend talking too much about why you got into medical school and why you were interested in medicine, because we're past that point already. We're applying to residency, so the focus here should be building that storyline that leads to why you chose the specialty and why a residency program should choose you. So the first question you need to answer in your personal statement is, why did you choose this specialty? And the applicant does that here through the second and the third paragraph. I'm not gonna read exactly every single line of this second and third paragraph, so you can pause this video and start reading it, but I'm gonna go over the main points the applicant discussed here to convey their interest in the specialty and also their strengths at the same time. Because another question that you need to answer in your personal statement is why you. So why are you interested in the specialty? Why you are extremely important points to discuss in your personal statement. However, you don't need to dedicate a paragraph for why the specialty, a paragraph for why you, because why you, which are your strengths, could be conveyed throughout the story by you talking about your clinical experiences. That also conveys, of course, your interest in the specialty. You can also convey your strength by your staying late, or by you giving a lecture, or by you doing research. All these things tell strength in an indirect way, and it doesn't have to be a paragraph for this, a paragraph for that, as long as you answer these questions throughout your personal statement. If we start looking at the second paragraph, after 4 challenging years studying biomedical engineering in undergrad, the applicant was fortunate to get into medical school. You see how they didn't talk too much about why they're interested in medicine and why they got into medical school, because they already passed that point. But then they start talking about how they started developing slight interest in surgery in the first years of medical school, because at that time they don't do rotations, so it's an initial interest. And then they start talking about their research year. This is extremely important point to convey strength, interest in the specialty, interest in academia and advancing the field. But be careful here when you start talking about these things that you're not repeating your CV. The point here is not to tell me everything you did during your research year, to cite everything you included in your ERAS application in your personal statement. The point here is to give me the experience. What of this research year you want to tell me during these 2-3 lines that you have in your personal statement. Here the applicant highlights a very interesting finding of their research. The applicant mentions briefly what was the main topic of their research, and then the findings of regulatory CAR T cells are able to prolong renal allograft survival. So again, this is not citing your CV, this is summarizing briefly what you did during your research and the main finding of that, which is a very exciting result for their research. And the applicant was able to do that only in 3 lines, so they didn't go a full paragraph about the research findings. And then the applicant moves to talk about how during the research time they spent time doing some clinical work. The chance to participate in donor procurements and witness the miraculous recoveries of patients post-operatively solidified my resolve in transplant surgery and surgery. And then they mentioned how this surgeon they worked with was a role model for their appreciation of the field of transplant surgery. This paragraph, in my opinion, is very well structured. It starts with the events of the applicant joining the lab, what they found during that research, conveying strength in commitment to research, commitment to surgery, how during the research they were also doing some clinical work. So that conveys multiple strengths and also tells about the applicant and what they did and also their interest in the specialty. Then the applicant moves to talk about real clinical work they did. They mentioned, although research was amazing, I missed clinical time. And during the 3rd year of their medical school, when they were on the trauma service, is when they truly realized that surgery is their calling. Here you can see it was my immense experience as a 3rd-year clerk on the trauma service that solidified my desire to pursue a career in surgery. Because a lot of medical students, when they join medical school, they have a different picture than reality about different specialties. So once they actually rotate on these services, once they have a real life experience of these services and these specialties, they might change their mind. And that's what the applicant is saying. I had kind of an initial interest in surgery during research from my father as a role model, but now being on the trauma service is where I realized that I really like surgery. Surgery is not just something I was interested in, it's something I really like from my own experiences. And then they talk about why they're interested in surgery, or what aspects of surgery interest them, and from their experience. This is a mistake we found over and over when reviewing applicants' personal statements, is that they talk about the specialty from a third person. Surgery is amazing because people, you solve problems with your hands, and because you can make a significant change on patients immediately, without talking about their actual experience. Here you can see the difference, witnessing the remarkable expertise of the chief residents and attending surgeons in assessing and diagnosing patients amidst the chaos of the trauma bay. The applicant here actually witnessed that. The applicants here saw that with their eye. They're not talking about something in the third person. The urgency of placing chest tubes, accompanying patients throughout their hospitalization, observing their recovery until discharge, all these aspects that the applicant experienced during their trauma rotation is what solidified the applicant interest in the specialty. And that's what program directors want to hear, actual experiences. Because some applicants, especially international graduates, might not have these experiences in the specialty they're applying to in the US. They might have that in their country, but different healthcare systems are significantly different from each other. So they want to hear these experiences in the specialty, which, as I said, show maturity, show that you really understand what you're getting yourself into, internal medicine or surgery or any specialty. Also, when they see that you're interested in following up patients throughout their hospitalization, you are interested in seeing them recover, that can show an aspect of you which is caring about patients. So that's why I say, when we answer the question of why you, it doesn't have to be a specific paragraph. It could be combined in almost every single paragraph you write, every single statement. So what other questions you should answer in your personal statement? We talked about why the specialty, why you, an interesting introduction. What other questions should you answer? And in my opinion, if you have red flags, I highly recommend you address that in your personal statements. For example, if you have a very low STEP score, or an attempt, or a huge gap since graduation, this is the place to address these gaps or these red flags. Other questions you might answer are career goals, which is something I always recommend you answer in your personal statement. What type of programs you're looking for, which can go along the line of your career goals, and any additional experience you want to highlight to convey something about you. Here the applicant chose to talk about their extracurricular activity, their work with the Operation Secure, which is a non-profit crisis for those dealing with addiction. And the applicants here make the connection to transplant surgery, because those addicted to alcohol might lead to cirrhosis, which might lead to liver transplant, and which is transplant surgery. So it's always a good idea to connect the dots and relate your experiences to the overall arching theme of what you want to do. And here, even if the applicant didn't mention later what they're interested in, it's very clear throughout this personal statement that the applicant wants to do general surgery, and then follow that by a transplant surgery fellowship from their research, from their extracurricular activity, and from the multiple places they highlighted that in their personal statement. Now, going to the last paragraph of the personal statement, usually it's talking about your goals. Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years after doing your residency, and connecting things all together. Usually applicants, which is something I recommend when possible, connect the end to the beginning. So it's like a full circle, starting with your introduction, talking about yourself and the stories, and then ending with something that relates to the beginning. As you can see, although personal statement might look like an easy document to do, it's actually in fact very complicated, because you want to show your experiences, you want to sell yourself to residency programs in a right way, so it doesn't compromise your chances of getting an interview. That's why I always recommend showing your personal statement to an expert, somebody who really knows what is included in personal statements and who's willing to give you that feedback, because if you give it to friends or family, they might not be willing to give you harsh feedback in order not to hurt you. They don't want to make you upset. They might change a few grammar changes, but they won't give you that harsh feedback that would result in significant improvement of your personal statement. And if you have any of these advisors or experts who are willing to give you that feedback, go for it. If you don't, we have an expert team of advisors who are residents in the US, native speakers, who will guide you through this process through one or two or multiple edits, or even help you write your personal statement from scratch. I'll leave the link for all our personal statement editing services in the description below. And if you want to bundle that with ERS application editing or with interview preparation and residency advising, we have our residency match application package that I'll also leave the link for that in the description below. And just FYI, our personal statement editing is not just language changes. It's not just a few comments and few changes in grammar. You'll see your personal statement significantly improves after we make the edits, because we take this seriously. I tell all the advisors that you need to give the applicant the personal statement that you would yourself submit for your application, because this is the quality of work we strive for. Now, moving to the end of this personal statement, looking ahead, my goal is to pursue residency in general surgery with the ultimate aim of specializing in transplant surgery. So the applicant says that clearly. And identifying your career goal might help identify the fit with residency programs. So if, for example, you're really interested in a transplant surgery fellowship and this program has never gotten an applicant to a transplant surgery, they would read your personal statement and say, you know what? This is an amazing applicant, but we probably won't be able to help them achieve their goals. So it's a better idea not to send them a personal statement. On the other hand, programs that are very heavy on transplant surgery and they have a good program for that would be very interested in you and send you an interview, are more likely to send you an interview. So that's why if you're applying to programs that don't have what you're saying in your personal statement, you might either need to adjust your personal statement so you can fit with these programs, or you might consider not applying to these programs. And this is something you have to decide on for yourself, because each applicant is different, each program competitiveness is different. So you have to be very careful about every single thing you say in your personal statement to not hurt your chances of getting the interview. Another example, if someone is very interested in research, the whole personal statement is talking about how you want to be an academic scientist, how you want to be very involved in basic science research. Maybe applying to a program that doesn't have any basic science research is not a good idea. And when you write this personal statement with very heavy focus on research and you apply to this community program, they'll probably not interview you because you're not a good fit for them. You're an amazing applicant, but you're not a good fit for them. So in that case, you either need to not apply to this program in the first place or adjust your personal statement, because ERS actually allows you to submit different personal statements for different programs and submit that personal statement without heavy focus on research to these programs. But you have to understand that you're compromising on what you're looking for in the residency program, because if you match there, your hopes of doing all these things that you wanted to do might not happen. So that's part of the risk-benefit ratio we discuss with our clients of what they want to achieve from their residency match, from their program, and reflect that on their personal statement. Here you can see how the applicant goes back to the introduction. I'm well aware of the challenges, but I constantly reminded by my father's voice urging me to approach this more than just a job, a true lifestyle that demands unwavering commitment. And by saying that, the applicant first linked the end to the beginning of this personal statement, talking about their father. Second, they're saying in an indirect way that I'm committed to doing this. They're saying, I understand these challenges, I've seen my father go through this, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice. And the applicant says that again here, I'm eager to give everything I have to the field of surgery. And then the applicant wraps things up by saying these 2-3 lines, how they're committed to patient care, pursuit of knowledge, and passion for the field of transplant surgery. Before we go on to the next personal statement, if you want to see all these samples here, go to our blog by clicking here on the matchguide.com blog, and then you can click on match application and you'll see all the match application related blogs. We have one about ERS application, residency personal statement samples, another one here, how to write a good personal statement, letters of recommendation, and multiple ones about interviews. And as I mentioned, if you need help with your residency match application, we have a comprehensive package that includes unlimited access to your advisor, personal statement editing, ERS application editing, and interview preparation. And to see that, you can go to services here and you'll see match application packages. If you want to sign up for the personal statement editing, you go to the residency match and you can see that here, personal statement editing. Now going to the second personal statement sample, which has the theme of a firefighter for an applicant interested in emergency medicine. You can pause this video and start reading the first two paragraphs, and then I will give my comments about this personal statement. This introduction provides a background about the applicant, how their family are firefighters, and how the applicant was interested in pursuing a similar career, but then they decided to do something else, which is emergency medicine technician. And if you read the second paragraph, you see how the applicant started developing interest in emergency medicine and medicine in general during their work as an emergency medical technician. It's not that usual story of someone developing interest in medicine during their college years or during their high school and then they know already that this is what they're going into. This applicant had that unusual path, which is becoming more common for people to pursue certain type of career and then they change their mind to pursue medicine. So here the applicant started developing interest in emergency medicine before they even got into college. And here they mention the reasons of what interests them in emergency medicine. Then in this paragraph, the applicants start talking about their determination and hard work and their path to medical school. They talk about how this applicant is from a blue-collar family, so they didn't have much money. So the applicants start their journey in a community college. They talk about how they were the first person to pursue a college degree in their family. So these are all strengths that the applicant is portraying through this personal statement without necessarily saying, oh, I'm determined, I'm a hard worker. They talk about how they continued to work as an EMT on weekends in addition to their time in college. Then they mention how they got into medical school here. Then they mention how they got a full scholarship to continue their bachelor degree and how they got into the medical school in the University of Toledo, and how from the first moment they stepped into medical school, they were interested in emergency medicine. But this is a very important thing to highlight. If you say that I'm only focused on emergency medicine, people might perceive that, oh, did you focus on the other things? What were you doing on your surgery rotation? Were you performing well on your IM rotation? The applicant addressed that by saying, although I had interest in emergency medicine, I dedicated time for every single rotation I was on, for every single subject. And then the applicant turns that into a strength to show their diverse skill that is required for an ED physician. As an ED physician, you see a huge diversity of things that come through the ED. So by you, as an applicant, giving your best on every single rotation and getting that clinical acumen from different specialties, you're actually becoming a better emergency medicine physician, which again shows maturity, shows strength, and shows interest in all aspects of medicine. In this paragraph, the applicants talk about how they established an emergency medicine interest group, a very cool extracurricular activity to show their commitment to helping others. And finally, the applicant ends with their career goal. And the applicant here actually hits two birds with one stone. They say that they want to work both at a large academic center and an underserved rural community. And some might say, well, how is that possible? They say they want to split their time. They want to do half-half, which is something possible. And the applicant says here, in the academic center, they want to focus on education and sharing the experience. And in the rural setting, they want to help the underserved population. So the applicant shows their commitment to education and advancing the field, teaching the next generation of physicians, but also helping the underserved population in rural areas. And here we can see again how the applicant ended the personal statement with a link to the introduction, with the unwavering motivation and dedication inherited from two generations of first respondents. This is the applicant's family, they're firefighters. So the applicant here is linking the end to the introduction. I'm ready to embark on the next phase of my training in emergency medicine. And just something to highlight is that these two personal statements I went through are actually made up personal statements. They're not personal statement of applicants. We made them up to show you how a good personal statement looks like. And that shows the level of expertise that our physician advisors have to edit your personal statement. All our personal statement editors are physician advisors who are native speakers and extremely experienced with personal statement editing. We don't have just language editors on our team, because I believe personally believe, and this is my opinion, that personal statement for residency application is different than other types of personal statement. So a journal editor or someone who's experienced with the English language will not be familiar with the nuances of what you need to include in your residency personal statement. I'm sure they can do an amazing job on the language, but they won't give you the advice on what you need to include to make your personal statement stand out or make your personal statement not hurt you in your application. And that's what our team of advisors do. They leave detailed comments on the content of your personal statement. They give you advice on the structure, but they also actually edit your personal statement. We don't just leave comments, we do significant editing of your personal statement to convey the best story of your experiences. However, one thing to highlight, we do not write the personal statement for you. So you write your personal statement and we significantly edit that. And if there is something missing, like let's say you didn't mention why you're interested in emergency medicine or IM that you're applying to, we leave you a detailed comment on what you should include, the ideas, give you an example, but we don't write it for you because we believe the personal statement is personal and you should be the person writing about your experiences, and we come after to edit that work. If you want to check out our personal statement editing, you can go ahead to our website, thematchguide.com, go to services, residency and match, and then you'll find personal statement editing. I'll also leave the link of our personal statement editing in the cards above and in the description below. Make sure to check out the free match templates we have for you, and I'll leave the link for that in the description below. It will be templates of personal statement, templates of letters of recommendation, templates of emails of interest and emails of intent, in addition to a fully filled ERAS application. These are fully free for you, and I'll leave the link for that in the description below. I hope this video tutorial provided you with some insight about personal statements and how they should look like. If you find any value in this video, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your colleagues who are applying for residency. If you have any questions about our personal statement editing, don't hesitate to reach out to us on our email info@thematchguide.com or our WhatsApp that I'll leave the number for in the description below. You can schedule a free consultation here on our website with one of our customer support team to discuss any questions you have about our services. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and good luck on your match application.